Hello, welcome to Shad Life. Well, I'm going to start my next winter project. I've talked about this before. I'm gonna completely rebuild this canyon. Now, somebody was telling me, well, the bike's not that old, why do you have to rebuild it? Well, I'm not changing out parts or anything. All I'm gonna do is completely take the whole bike apart, clean everything as best as I can, and I'm going to put new bearings in all of the suspension, and that's the big piece of this project, is replacing all the bearings. I've talked about this a few times, and so I'm hoping to solve a few problems. There's a couple of them that drive me a little crazy. One of them is this plastic piece back here where all the cables, so the cables, it's you know, internal cable routing comes through here, through the down tube, and all the cables come through between the swing arms and the main frame, I guess if you call it, front triangle, and then they feed in and come out here and come out there and so on and so forth. So this plastic little plate here creaks, and I'm always having to squeeze a little bit of lube in there to keep it quiet. And during this process of trying to work on creaks, I did take some of the pivots apart, and I realized the bearings had a little bit of rough feeling to them. So my assumption is, you know, I like Canyon, but I do feel like, you know, they do have a really good price point, especially considering this is a full XT build. But I do wonder if they skimp a little bit on the bearings or something, because it was pretty odd to me that those bearings already kind of felt pitted and stuff. So I'm gonna put a whole new Enduro set of bearings, higher quality bearings, on this bike for all the suspension pivots, and that'll make a big difference. And I have a park toolkit and to do it, and I've never done this before, so I'm gonna learn as I go and try to be really careful. And then I'm gonna take everything else apart. The other thing about this bike that annoys me is this headset, weird headset cap. When I got the bike, it had carbon bars, which I absolutely didn't like and want, so I got rid of those right away. It had a 31/8 clamp stem, some weird shaped Canyon one that matched the spacers, that all matched with this piece, so it looked like some kind of space age molded thing. And it's like, no, I want some legit parts that I trust. Deity is definitely one of them. So I put this stem on, and now you got this weird piece, and every once in a while the headset's creaking, right? And so I have a solution for that. I'll show you. I have the Cane Creek headset that everybody's been telling me to get, and really all I have to do is replace the top, right? I will check the bearings, the Canyon bearings, and see the quality, and if these bearings can replace them and they're better quality, I will probably swap out the bearings too. But it's mainly just this top cap that will get replaced, and replace this thing. And from what the internets is telling me, that will solve the creaking and any issues, and it'll look better, right? It'll look more normal. So I'll be doing that as part of this process. Of course, if I'm taking the whole bike apart first, this isn't going to happen until near the end. So pretty much those are the little complaint points, those two things, and then of course the way the bearings felt. As far as everything else on the bike, I'm just going to take everything apart, clean it. Unfortunately, to work on this, I'm going to have to undo the brakes. So I might just get new brake lines and all of that, and just kind of redo the brakes. Not that they need to be redone, they work excellently, but since I'm going to have to take them apart to get the cables out of here to because I'm going to take this whole rear swing arm piece off of access to that. I got to pull the cables out, undo the shifter, all of that. So that's going to be kind of the pain in the butt piece of this, but it'll all be worth it in the end. And it's December and I've got all winter to work on this thing. So yeah, and then I'll take the wheels off, clean them up, you know, get them dialed, probably check the spoke tension for the sake of just checking it and all of that stuff, right? The one thing I'm not entirely sure I want to do yet is whether I feel like the fork and rear shock are ready to be serviced. I'll think about it. I know that they say, oh, you need to service them blah, blah, way more often, but I know a few people that are in the know, that is, mainly my friend Tony, but a few others that don't service their fork as often as we're told we have to service them. I think it really depends on where you live and the kind of riding you do. I mean, if you're in the PNW or the UK where you're riding in the mud and the wet and all of that stuff all the time, then yeah, you probably have to service your suspension a lot more. But here in the upper Midwest, you know, we don't ride wet and muddy trails. We're not in that environment. We're not even allowed to ride wet, muddy trails because most of the trails are the land managers, you know, whether it's the state, city, federal lands or whatever, don't allow us to do that kind of damage to the trail. So we don't do that kind of damage to our suspension, and I'm constantly cleaning the stanchions of my fork. As you can see, my bike's kind of dirty, but you'll notice this is clean and my stanchions are clean, because those are the things I always make sure I clean regularly. And then I use this slick honey every now and then if I feel like I need to on the stanchions. And you know, that's just how I do it to kind of get some more life out of my suspension. So we will see. I don't think I'm gonna send them in for service yet. I might next winter, maybe go 2 seasons on them before I do that, but we'll see. If I have time and I feel like I need to do it, I might do it. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. One thing that does need servicing is the dropper post. That's been kind of flaky. If there's anything I'm going to replace or put a new part on, it might be the dropper post. I might go with like a wolf tooth Resolve. They have the second generation of the Resolve, and I'm really curious to try it out. So that might end up on this bike, but aside from that, all the parts are going to stay the same. I'm just going to do what we call like an overhaul, clean everything, all of that. I highly doubt I'm going to take all of the bearings out, the wheel bearings and stuff like that. I might take the what do we call it, ratchet system out of the DT Swiss hub and just make sure it's clean. But that's so easy to do with that system, so might as well check it while I'm at it. But yeah, this is the first video, the introduction video of this build. And in case you're wondering, these are the bearings that I got them from Real World Cycling. They're enduro bearings. I don't know a ton about them. All I know is by doing some research, these are the ones to get. And they make them for the Canyon, and they're more durable, will last longer, things like that. Enduro spec, you know, so they're ready to take some abuse. And this is the specific one for the Canyon Spectral, so should just, you know, fit in. I just have to figure out which bearing goes where. And I have the Park bearing toolkit. Let me show you that really quick. So this is the Park Tool suspension bearing kit. Has never been used, and it's got all of these different pieces and a little press tool. And yeah, I know little to nothing about this or what I'm doing, so I'm gonna have to do a lot of internet research and so on to learn how to use this and so on. There are some instructions, but I live in Minneapolis, and I know people that actually work for Park Tool, so I literally can ask some of my friends if I get kind of lost on what I'm doing here. But yeah, that's it. This is the key to doing the bearings, which I have right here. So that'll be probably the most significant part of this project as I do it. So this video, or this series, I like to do a series so my video is not super long. I will be doing multiple ones throughout the winter because this is going to take me a while, and this whole thing will be taken apart. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, you know, make sure you hit the subscribe button, so you get updates when I put out a new video. And I will basically start by taking everything apart. That's the first stage, and I'll do videos on that, and then videos on each little bit I work on. And then the main video I'll be doing is the bearing replacement, because that's new to me, and I like to, you know, I'm sure a lot of people would be curious to see how I do that. So there you have it. Wow, I'm kind of like, one of the things I need to do before I finish this video is I need to clean up my space. As you can see, all of that stuff is recyclable, so I gotta just get it out of here because it's just taking up space. That is a Bike Friday folding bike in the box, still sitting there. I will unbox that soon, but if you're curious about that kind of stuff, stay tuned. I mean, I'm doing pretty good over here, you know, and my workbench needs to get clean, but when we start looking over here, it starts to get really messy. That's all my riding gear where I change clothes, put different whatever, and I need to get that part organized, and I still have over there to work on. So I got a lot to do down here, because one of the things that's going to happen is when I take this thing all apart, you have parts all over the place for this bike. So I think my first phase, and I'm probably not going to do a video on that, obviously, but is to just get this area clean and tidy and less messy, so I can just go ahead and start this project kind of with a nice clean workspace, and so I can kind of keep things organized and stuff. So there you have it. I appreciate your support from my channel. Please like and subscribe. Peace.